Today we're going to be taking a look at the Plasma Caster. This is a very interesting weapon in Fallout New Vegas and a weapon that is added with the Gunrunner's Arsenal DLC. And interestingly enough, the Plasma Caster, or at least the model for it, is actually the same model that is used for the original plasma rifle in the first two Fallout games, and I believe Fallout Tactics as well. This is what the original plasma rifle looked like, and the turbo plasma rifle. This was later changed in Fallout 3 to what is kind of known as the plasma rifle now in Fallout, and it's the same model used in Fallout New Vegas, as well as a very similar model to Fallout 4 and to Fallout 76. So let's talk about the Plasma Caster and how good this weapon is. So the Plasma Caster is one of the heavy energy weapons in the game, similar to like the Tesla Cannon or the Flamers. This one requires 100 energy weapons to wield, so a lot, and it also requires 8 strength to wield. This is one of the highest requirements for any of the energy weapons. The Plasma Caster does 65 damage per shot, which is quite high. That's actually a really good amount of damage per shot. This one does 195 DPS, which is also quite high. You can fire the Plasma Caster fairly fast for this. Not as fast as other weapons, and it still has the travel time from a plasma weapon, but it still can be a lot of DPS, especially at close and medium range. This does 65 crit damage, so very high crits, 1 times crit modifier, so average crits overall. This one only costs 25 action points to use in VATS, which isn't super high. It's kind of high compared to a lot of energy weapon rifles, but not very high compared to a lot of weapons overall in Fallout. So if you want to use this in VATS, it's actually really good for that. This one has 0.7 spread, so not the most accurate, but not the least accurate either, and Plasma does have a bigger hitbox than other projectiles, so that kind of helps it. This one holds 10 rounds in it before you have to reload, which is okay. The reload is a little bit slow on this one since you have to pull the whole pack out and then put a new pack in, so it does take some time for that, and you're going to be having to reload this one fairly often. The Plasma Caster weighs 20 weight, so it is very heavy, and it has 80 item health, which is okay. That's fine. It's about the same as what you'd get out of a plasma rifle overall, shot for shot, before it really breaks. It's not that much different from it, and you do get more damage from this, so it could be worth it in that regard. It's not the most amount of item health, and you probably need to fix this up fairly regularly, but it's not the worst either. For the general pros of the Plasma Caster, this one does do high damage per shot, it has high damage per second as well, and it has a great ammo type. The microfusion cells are super common, super available, and there is a lot of good variety to them, as well as just the base microfusion cells are nice since they have armor breaking on them. For the major cons of the Plasma Caster though, these are very rare. You're probably not going to find Plasma Casters on enemies. You can get them off of a few enemies because high level trauma suits can actually carry this in Old World Blues. You can get them from that, but they're fairly rare anyway. And I believe the marked men can actually carry this. I think I've seen a few marked men actually have Plasma Casters. It's very rare for them to have it, but I think that they can have this. It's much less common than some of their other weapons that they carry around, like brush guns and anti-material rifles. This weapon is also very heavy. That's its other major con, is that it weighs 20. So it's going to weigh you down. You're going to need ammo for it, which is going to weigh you down as well, assuming you're playing on the hardcore difficulty. And you may want to take weight-related perks so that you can kind of either get more weight or reduce this thing's weight. There are a couple of perks that help out with this too. You can have heavyweight, which does cut its weight in half, so it goes down to 10. Far more manageable then, that isn't so bad. You can have Plasma Spaz, specifically for this one, since it's a plasma weapon, and that actually helps it out quite a bit. You can also just take other VATS related perks, which will help this one out as well. And you could take something like Meltdown, which Meltdown makes it so whenever you kill an enemy, it explodes and then can deal damage to other enemies, giving you some more AoE. Can be really nice, especially with the sneak attacks from something like the Plasma Caster, since it does such high base damage. For the different ammos, this one can have regular microfusion cells, which have 2 armor breaking on them, really nice. You have bulk cells, which don't have armor breaking, and they do a little bit less damage, but they do less damage to your gun. Can be useful, especially if you want to buy a bunch of these from like the Silver Rush. You're probably also going to have to buy the Plasma Caster from the Silver Rush, since them and the Brotherhood are about the only two that actually sell Plasma Casters at any rate. You have the Overcharge cells. These give you more damage, break your weapon a little bit quicker, and they punch through more armor. You have the Max cells, which gives you a whole bunch more damage, but break your weapon really fast and give you even more armor breaking. This can be really good on the Plasma Caster, since it has high base damage, and that's usually the best place to use Max cells. Something like this, or the Gauss rifles, Tesla Cannon, can all be really good uses of the Max cells, or even something like the Tri-Beam Laser if you want to just do really high DPS and you don't mind breaking your weapon super fast. And then you also have the Optimized cells, which give you more damage and break your weapon slightly faster, as well as give you armor breaking equal to the Overcharge cells. Those ones I would consider the best, and what I would load into this, as well as what I'd load into the majority of my energy weapons. But if you want to run max cells in this, it can be really good. If you want to run regular cells, it can be pretty good in the Plasma Caster overall. For an overall rating for the Plasma Caster on my tier list, I think I'd probably put this thing up into A tier. It's got some quirks, and it's not really one of my favorite energy weapons to be using, so I might be a little bit biased towards this. But it's still quite strong. It's still very good. It still does a lot of DPS, and it can work out really well in most situations. It's just that there are a couple situations where it feels a little bit awkward and where I have to reload it a little bit more than what I would like. It's also not my favorite plasma weapon. I would probably give that to like the plasma rifle, at least the unique one. That one's just really nice. It just has really good stats. It's very handy to be carrying around, and it's just a little bit better than something like this in my opinion. But if you like the Plasma Caster and you want to go with a heavy energy weapons build, I can totally understand going for this because it is a really good weapon. Now there is a unique version of this too, which is in the Gunrunner's Arsenal DLC as well. You do have to buy this one. This one is called Smitty's Special. This one you can buy from the Silver Rush in Freeside. You're going to need a lot of caps for this. It's going to cost you quite a lot. It's pretty much on par with the more expensive weapons like the Two-Step Goodbye or the Bozer, so it's going to be very expensive for you to buy this. It's probably going to cost you like 20,000 caps or so, depending on your barter level. But this one is unique, and it functions quite a bit differently than the regular Plasma Caster, where the regular one is a semi-automatic large weapon thing. This one is a fully automatic large weapon thing. So this is kind of like the equivalent to the Gatling laser, but for plasma weapons. So this one also requires 100 energy weapons and 8 strength to wield, same as the regular one. This one does less damage per shot at 35 damage, which is still fairly high, but it's not as high as the regular one. This one has higher DPS at 245 because it is full auto, so you can shoot this out much faster. This one has less crit damage at 35, same as its regular damage. A much lower crit chance though. Since it's full auto weapons usually don't benefit from crits all that much, or at least don't hit crits super often. This one has a 0.1 times crit modifier rather than the standard 1 times crit modifier of the regular Plasma Caster. This one costs 30 action points to use, more than the regular one, which was a little bit odd. I'm not sure why that is. I think the regular one is better in a VATS build, whereas this one is better in a non-VATS build if you just want to be spraying this at enemies. I think that this one's a little bit better in that role. It's not terrible in VATS at all, but it's not necessarily one of the best. This one has more spread at 1.3, which isn't that much more for an automatic weapon. It doesn't even quite double in its spread, so that's kind of useful. It's not super inaccurate either. It can still be used at basically all the ranges the Plasma Caster can, maybe less useful at very long range. This holds 20 rounds in it rather than 10 rounds, which helps with it being full auto. This one also weighs 20 weight, and this one does have higher item health at 220. Since it is full auto, you're probably going to be going through more ammo with this. The Smitty Special is in kind of an awkward spot where I don't really think that it fits a great role because it is a full auto microfusion weapon, and there's really not many of those in the game. Actually, I think this is the only full auto microfusion weapon in the game because the Gatling laser doesn't take them, and I don't think anything else does. I think this is the only full auto microfusion weapon, which is a little bit strange because it's always competing with all the semi-automatic weapons or the single shot weapons. And for that, it's not really a great price to performance in terms of what you're getting for every shot. You can stack a whole lot of shots with this though, so that does help. I guess you could also count the tri-beam laser as a multi-shot thing since it uses up multiple cells, or the regular plasma rifle, or I guess the multi-plas rifle because they all use multiple cells. But it's not really the same thing as a full auto weapon. So the Smitty Special, I wouldn't actually say is any better or worse than the regular Plasma Caster. I would say it's a on par option. So I would also put this one up into A tier on my tier list. It's a little bit weird, and I know a lot of people really enjoy the regular Plasma Caster over this one. I find them both to be pretty good. I find them both to be pretty fun to use. The regular Plasma Caster is much better shot for shot, but the Smitty Special, if you have an excess of microfusion cells, is really fun and still quite strong. Tell me your thoughts on the Plasma Caster and Smitty Special down in the comments below. I'd love to hear them because these weapons are kind of weird and I don't even use them very much on my energy weapon runs. I end up usually going more for the regular plasma rifle or the laser rifle and stick to those, and then something like the Gauss rifle instead of something like the Plasma Caster. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so very much for watching it. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.